Hello, welcome back to the Shit They Don't Tell You podcast. I'm Nikki Limo, and this is...
My name is Steve Green.
Yes.
Hello. Today we are joined by a very special guest. He is
very special.
A friend of ours of many years.
He's a comedian.
He is a colleague. He is a comedian.
He's a podcast host.
A fellow podcaster. He is Jason Horton. Jason H. Horton.
Also, he has been on an episode of Shit They Don't Tell You before about being fucking old. So just in case you forgot he's fucking old, he's like really fucking old.
And we hooked him in today by telling him we want to talk about his podcast, but really we just want to talk about how much
older he is since the last time we talked to him.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
how is being even older?
I was thinking, am I going to have a midlife crisis? And I'm past midlife crisis age. You know what I mean?
True.
I can't even say that anymore.
Well, we're living longer. There's still time.
Who's we? Who's living
population?
longer?
That's true.
Oh. No, not me.
I think you're going to outlive me.
I think so.
Yeah.
You're pretty like...
you're a very healthy guy.
You're more of a hypochondriac
living.
than Steve is. Steve's the opposite of a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
He will never ever go to the doctor. So I feel like, you get your checkups in and
I'm a doctor phobe.
pretty healthy.
I got my prostate checked.
There you go.
That's tight.
Yeah.
At least your
How
dick's
is it?
going to live.
You know, I want to tell you, they were like, we're going to wait another year or two to do it. And they went in and they were like, let's just do it now. And I wasn't prepared. And the first thing I wanted to do is I want to call somebody. I don't know who I want to call. I would just call somebody to be like, is this going to be okay? I talked maybe somebody else I knew who got fingers up their butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got him up my butt before by a gyno. And I learned later that not everybody gets that from their gyno.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
dude,
just...
Same shit happened to me during my kidney stones, man.
Wait, what?
So many doctors putting fucking fingers up my ass.
I can't tell if yours is a joke or not.
No, genuinely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was disturbed.
You didn't tell me this.
It was not very fun, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast episode is not about finger banging your butt or about prostate examinations.
In a general
sense.
In a general sense, they all are.
Yes,
We'll have you back for that.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, this podcast is about that.
We'll have you back for the finger banging your own asshole episode.
Yeah. But it is kind of, you're being haunted by a ghost of your youth.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode is about ghosts and hauntings. Mostly we're picking this because Jason does a podcast with his co-host Rebecca Lieb, and it's called Ghost Town.
Yes.
And it's not about ghosts, but it's about...
hauntings are a part of it.
Okay.
Abandoned, mysterious...
crime,
true crime,
murder.
tragic things that have happened in locations.
And you've gone to these locations.
Not all of them, but I try to go. I try to go. Like recently, we had the Wonderland murders. If you remember that movie, there's a movie Wonderland, and then the movie Boogie Nights. They reference. If you've seen that recently,
I have seen Boogie Nights.
They reference the. It's like kind of the Wonderland murders. So I did a little trespassing, and I went there.
Shit.
I'm just fascinated with historical locations that don't even have to be tragic, like where things are filmed, movies, or anything like that. Where I lived in New York, it was like George Washington's last encampment, in the Revolutionary War, and I was like, I always thought that's really cool.
Yeah.
And so it kind of built from that.
It's weird how they had small chairs and stuff. Isn't that weird?
They were small people.
I know, they were so tiny.
They were.
You see those little doorways and shit? I'm like, dude, George Washington was a freaking munchkin.
Yeah.
He was a very small man.
It's because biologically we breed taller. Women are I guess biologically attracted to mating with taller people.
Sometimes not, though. Sometimes not.
Sometimes not. You're right, Jason.
Sometimes 5'9" is tight. You know what I mean?
True.
Sometimes. I don't know.
Honestly, I'm the tallest person. I'm the tallest female in my Filipino side of the family. Out of all the cousins, I have 29 first cousins and then a bunch of second cousins, and I'm 5'4", because
I've noticed.
Yeah.
That you are
they're
definitely
all very tiny there, but they're all breeding a little bit up.
And I think you're the hottest as well.
That's what happens.
At least top 10.
She's definitely top
29.
10. Yeah.
I mean, top 10
yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Sight unseen.
Thanks.
No,
guys.
I think I got the hottest one.
Yeah.
Of all the cousins.
I'm gonna say top 10. I need to see that.
That would suck if you go there and you're like, oh my god, they're all hot and I got the least hot one.
Yeah.
I'm not prejudiced against dating short guys before I got married to my husband, but it just so happened. You're actually the tallest person I've ever dated.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I didn't mean it wasn't a criteria in my head when I was
it.
dating. Anyway, it's not about being tall, guys. We're talking about ghosts.
No, but I wanted to also talk about how you noticed that George Washington and all those cats were really small people. But then also I've noticed that throughout history, due to the recording equipment that was available back then, it's almost like voices have gotten deeper. But it's really, I know that's not true, because but when you listen to Harry Truman and FDR and all these old recordings, they're always like hello. Like it's always like very high pitched shit. So I always think that like people back then, like I always picture George Washington as a little tiny man now, and then he's like, he's got a high pitched voice.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey.
It's also like how I think people imitate what's around them, right? So like, like accents, different accents and stuff. You speak the accent of which you grew up around.
Yes.
And so in that time, it might have been socially more popular. Like the transatlantic accent was a huge thing in like the 50s.
Wait, what's that one?
It's like, I don't want to.
Is it like kind of
it's
like
that.
Cary Grant might feel like that? Like,
that's
it's
The
like
transatlantic accent.
Oh, right.
Like it's very like
articulate.
broadcasted. Yeah.
Yes.
But like that was an acceptable way to talk back then because everybody talked like that. So maybe back in George Washington's days, everybody had like a higher pitch to their voice. And that was like the more hip thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas now it's just more like, hey, everybody chill, man. Let's be one with the universe.
True.
And shit. I don't know. That's just a theory. I don't know anything.
yeah.
Anyway, so ghost experiences. So you're just like researching murder all the time, yeah?
Well, how it kind of started is, I've done other podcasts before, and I wanted to do another one, something that I was really enthusiastic about, and I took everything that I've learned from podcasting, like from the name to the subject matter, because, frankly, like, there's a lot of interview type podcast out there. Like even yours is about like you break down a subject. So I was like, what am I interested in? And Rebecca and I have been working together for so long, like writing together, and she was really into haunted stuff, and she gives haunted tours, and I'm into abandoned stuff, and like kind of, we're both into the true crime, so we put it together, and there's just an endless amount of stuff out there to talk about, and I'm interested in like locations, like this. I'm occupying the space that this happened, and I've always been really interested in that. And
Have you ever experienced a haunting?
We did an episode of the hotel room where Janis Joplin died, and we did 3 episodes in that room. So we're into that too, like going to where people died.
Oh, so you actually recorded the podcast in that room?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tight.
Andy Dick was there before us doing the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, they were like, yeah, Andy Dick came here and did that. I was like, freaking Andy Dick, man.
Yeah, of course.
Andy
Freaking
Dick.
pioneer, man.
Yeah.
And I was in there, and I'm a skeptic.
Yeah, I think that's healthy.
Rebecca's a skeptic. She wants to be haunted though. Like she's looking. She's asking for it.
That's how my mom is.
She's
It
dressing like
freaks
she
me
wants
out.
to get haunted.
Yeah, she wants to get haunted. And I've had some haunted experiences, but when I was in that room, not even thinking about it, I started getting really sick. And in fact, at one point, this is before we were still setting up, and we'd had a medium come over, but we were just kind of getting everything ready. And I was like, I got to take a shower. Like I was freaking out, and I go and I took a shower. Which was weird. Rebecca's like, all right. I didn't have any clothes with me. I just took a shower, I put my clothes back on. But I came out, and when I was in there, I felt even more sick.
Yeah.
And when the medium came in, and she went in, and then when she went into the bathroom, she's like, whoa, this is... And bathrooms are bad, when it comes to, like, tragedy and stuff.
They're
I
in
feel
the
like
pipes.
It's
I
just
thought you were
in
saying
there.
the bathrooms was bad.
No. It was a good bathroom.
Like,
Great bathroom.
okay, my bad.
No, it was a good bathroom.
Okay.
And I don't know. I was just
I thought the medium
overcome
goes in
with
there
it.
and she's like, Jesus.
Yeah, who blew this place
That's
up?
fucking
Not
Who lit
good.
this place up?
No,
Terrible.
she was like, "There's some really bad energy in here," and I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but it really did affect me. Like I was sweating and like freaking out.
Was she saying that it was like it wasn't? Was it Janice?
I don't know. She's like something.
Janice
She's
is
like
doing a lot
there
of
was
rock and
bad
roll in there?
vibes in there, like bad juju in there.
Bad
Dang.
juju.
And bathrooms are you're sitting in the tub. I mean, it's like any movie or whatever, and it's like just a tragic place to be sometimes.
Yeah. In some cultures, they believe that spirits are in the water, travel in water. So like any rivers.
That's so scary.
And, pipes.
That's
and,
so scary, man.
And showers. Yeah.
The idea of being like underwater and getting haunted, like that's the scariest shit I can think of because you can't go anywhere. You can barely swim out
like
of there.
any horror movie. If they're in the tub, I was like, you're screwed.
It's
you know
over.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in big trouble.
You're getting drowned.
Yeah.
Dude, I was watching this show on Netflix. Have you seen that haunted show where they like take real people that have been haunted and they like are telling their stories for the first time on camera in front of their peers and friends, and like a lot of the peers don't even know that this person had those experiences, and they're like kind of emotional because they tried to like hide them and stuff. But anyway, there was this one dude who like has been haunted by this lady in white all his life, and when he was a kid, they moved into this apartment unit where the mother murdered her 3 children before killing herself, and I guess the lady in white was the mom, and thought that he was one of the kids that got away, and so he would continuously see her, and she would like try to like kill him. But one time he was in the tub, and he's like, "I'm being haunted by this thing," and and his own mom was like, "No, you're not. You're fine." And then the tub filled up with blood. That's just his story, but I thought that was just so freaky. And the mom just acted like, we don't want to talk about this because they were very religious. That's another
Did
reason.
the tub fill up with blood, or did he have a cut?
No, it filled up with blood
Okay.
from like the ghost children.
Oh,
that
so it
died
was
in
coming
there.
out of the faucet.
It was coming out of the
like
faucet,
Ghostbusters 2
and
style.
it was just everywhere. And the mom had to like scrub the blood off. Like she was like scrubbing the blood off of the bathroom floor because it was like that crazy.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Like stories like that, I feel like are hard to imagine happening to you. But then you see this guy telling the story, and he's like crying his eyes out, and his family's like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know this happened to you." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want people to think I'm crazy." And they're like, "Oh my god,
And the
that's
mom's just
crazy."
Like, it was a real bloody bath day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't think anything of that.
Well, so the reason that like people don't like to talk about ghosts and spirits or paranormal is like a lot of religions don't believe in that, and it kind of goes against their religion. So the guy was in like a religious household, and she's just like, we're not gonna touch this, or this has got to be science or whatever. And then also people that aren't religious are like, anything could be explained by science.
Was it creepy in there when you were in the bathroom? Like, was it creepy in general?
No, it was. It looked pretty chill, even though they have like a Janis Joplin like mural in there. I didn't think much of it when I got there. I mean, I was just like, this is pretty cool. Like I'm really into music, and we talk a lot about Los Angeles because I don't think enough people really celebrate LA. Like, LA doesn't have any culture, and I was like, it's there's so many amazing, and it's because there's so much entertainment, which is tragic.
Yeah.
So many messed up things have happened in Hollywood. Dreams coming true, sometimes they're not coming true. I think it's just a great place to be to kind of celebrate these things. But when I walked in there, I was just like, oh, this is like super cool. And because I'm a skeptic, I don't go in there and be like, oh, I hope I don't freak out. And then all of a sudden I was just like crawling out of my skin. And I don't know if it was just it took one little speck to kind of get in my head, and it kind of grew from there. And Rebecca was like, "No, man, come on." But we had besides having a medium, we had like people coming in and playing the music of Janis Joplin. We had like a little kind of a party situation.
Like a seance, it
One
sounds
girl
like.
got in there, and when she heard about it, she started freaking out. Like, I didn't know her, and I was like,
why was she in there?
She didn't know. She got there. She's like, her friend was like, yeah, we're going to this, thing. This podcast is doing episodes.
It was like a live recording, like with an audience.
We did a live.
Gotcha.
Part of it was a live recording.
I see.
And this girl like started like really freaking out because she didn't know that. You say it's a bit like people have died in places that you've lived. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if like you need to disclose that if you're whatever, but I'm sure we've lived in apartments that, especially Steve and I,
Someone died.
people definitely got murdered in that. Yeah, they definitely got murdered.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
Oh yeah. The Kenmore apartment, dude?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So what makes it so different? A place like this that's like haunted. Like what's the difference? Why is that place haunted and not like the apartment that you lived in where someone died in?
I think because, and this is me, I think a lot of people have gone there as like a pilgrimage that are fans of Janis Joplin, or you're Andy Dick or whoever you are.
You're an Andy Dick fan, you're going.
Just going in there for whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you put a lot of people with like a certain like energy that are like have sorrow or celebration, and it's kind of like a pressure cooker, I don't know. I feel like it possibly could get like trapped in there, or like like a haunted prison or a haunted mental institution. Like imagine if you believe in like energies and stuff like that. And I know Nikki, you're like a pretty open to energies. And
if anything, I lean more that direction. Like I'm skeptic.
Yeah.
I've never seen like a ghost or an apparition, like some people say that they've seen like someone that looks like an actual person and it ends up being a ghost.
And they're like glowing and shit.
I've never personally experienced that, so I can't vouch for that. But I have like, felt energies of a room before, and like, how you feel energies off people all the time, or maybe some people listening don't know what I'm talking about, but you can tell like
do you do comedy or whatever?
Vibes,
Yeah, vibes.
Yeah. Even doing stand up, like you can read the room, you can feel the crowd if they're vibing with you or not vibing
even,
with
like
you.
when you watch a movie and everyone kind of has the same feeling during the same moment of the movie.
Oh, dude, Requiem for a Dream. I will say it again. That movie fucked me up.
Really?
Just like made me so depressed
I
for
was
like
one and done
weeks
with that
after.
movie. I can't even.
Right? It just like it really affects me. So I get really affected by energies, and I'm not saying like, oh, I'm affected by ghost energies. Like no, literally like people like that. Someone just died in their life. If I'm around them, I feel immense sadness and start crying. Like I pick up other people's
That's empathy, you know what I mean?
sadness
It's a
and
good
energy.
thing, you know?
Right. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes, especially when I didn't realize I was picking up other people's energies. I thought they were all my own. So I just start crying randomly and feeling like immense sadness, like I just lost somebody. But everyone in my family's
Dude,
alive.
that's how I felt when I saw. Do you remember that Super Bowl commercial a couple years ago that had Bob Dylan in it?
Yeah.
I felt so sad when I saw that. I was like, man, that was depressing for me. I was like, dude, this guy fucking needs money, man. This is so sad because he used to be so against all that shit. But to see him in like a Ford Mustang commercial, I just couldn't believe my eyes.
Oh.
It was depressing.
So you felt sad for him.
I felt very sad.
Is that more like pity, or did you like
no,
take
just
on his sadness?
Because his whole brand had been,
not being
sullied
a sellout.
by not being a sellout. Exactly.
Right.
It was a crazy thing to see.
Yeah. So yeah, things like that. We all experience that, and so I don't think it's too far fetched to be like, oh, if something crazy happened, like if you go to one of the old campsites of the Holocaust, an old internment camp, I don't think it's too far fetched to feel like some shit went down here.
Dude, when we were in Germany, I genuinely felt that way when we were just walking down the street.
Just a heaviness.
It was just heavy in the
What
air.
happened in Germany?
We'll do an episode about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't.
We'll have you back.
Some crazy
after the
shit went
Fingerbud
down there.
episode.
Bratwurst thing or
Yeah,
Oktoberfest? That's all I know.
Yeah, someone had a hangover one night and it just lit the whole town up.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I was just a couple months ago in Berlin. I spent a lot of time there, and and this was like between the Berlin Wall and the outdoor, like the art of it all, and obviously Holocaust-related things. We went to where. And I guess this is speculation, but it's probably true. This is where Hitler's bunker, where he
killed himself.
Where he died, and it's not celebrated. All there is like it's not even a plaque. It's kind of like a little map type thing that kind of explains something. Like, so it's not like ornamented because they're obviously the German people are obviously like not. They don't want to
celebrate that.
They don't want to celebrate that. But I had to go. Like I was like I had to go to that spot, and I was like. At this point in, I guess it was East Berlin. I'm trying to keep track of where it was. East Berlin. And I was like, this is where in this spot, like this happened, and there's just something amazing about that, like kind of that juxtaposition
that it actually happened. All the shit actually happened.
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind every time. It's like, man,
so things
this shit
like
actually
that.
happened.
But also like what I'm a huge fan of, like an abandoned mall.
Yeah.
That's my shit right there. Like
Yeah.
an abandoned mall or abandoned amusement
parks.
Yeah,
Creepy
those are
because
good.
it's like the juxtaposition of something like really happy and exciting to like being
It's like the
completely
Chernobyl
dark
amusement
and
parks and shit.
I mean, well, people always ask like, what is your kind of top of your bucket list, and that'd be Chernobyl for me. And it
Really?
already has been. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm. As we know from the previous episode, like I'm a little bit older. Like I'm like a
touch.
millennial plus.
Yeah.
But like I remember like when Chernobyl happened, you know what I mean? And I was just like, this is like so, and of course like Russia's bad and all that, even though it's Ukraine or whatever. But it was the USSR. And it's just amazing. You can go there now. I think whatever the uranium
Their
levels are,
radiation.
you know what I mean? So that's but it's just something that's just been preserved for whatever reason. It's preserved is really amazing. And like when that Horton Plaza Mall where filmed some of The Thinning. And I remember going and I looked around and I was like, wait a minute, this is on my list of places. Nobody cared, by the way.
Right.
They were like, yeah, cool, man. We're trying to like film a movie. I was like, I'm not integral to the plot, so who cares? And I remember being in there and being like, wait a minute, this is the abandoned Hawthorne Plaza Mall, which is, as far as malls are concerned, like there's one in I think Akron, Ohio, which is like the mall to check out. But this one, I was like, this is so amazing. Some people were wearing like dust masks. I was like, no, man, breathe it in. Breathe in that lead, baby. And I was just loving being there. It was like really amazing. So that and abandoned, because you think of it.
What happened in the Hawthorne Mall?
It's abandoned.
Okay, that's why.
Why did it get abandoned? Just people couldn't pay their rent, or what?
Well, I mean, I'm fascinated with mall culture from growing up because I'm millennial plus. Malls were like, and living in like New York and New Jersey. I mean, that's like mall central, and I don't like. Probably malls everywhere, but obviously with the internet and Amazon and people just like people don't really need kind of the need for a mall like to go to those places to like for like the community of like mall walkers or like kids hanging out. That's changed, and there's just people just can't really keep up, and there's no real need for it, and it's like Amazon, man, like they just got us
That's true.
balls,
That's
man.
True. I still like going to a mall and walking around.
Yeah,
though.
me too.
You know what they got to do is just make the malls look more like the Grove, because that's like
Sure,
just
that's-
like
yeah.
you need a visual thing
Yeah.
to go to. Like I will go to the Grove any day. I don't even have to shop because it's just so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because it's pretty weather out here, man. Imagine like
Oh,
in
true.
Minnesota, dude.
That's true. I didn't think about that. I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
about states
can't
that
do
have
it.
cold.
Can't do it.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Those aren't real temperatures.
But mall culture's always been very interesting, and just kind of and watching 80s movies where everything happened in a mall.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's some that are kind of still standing, and I'll watch old videos of just malls from like the 80s just to it's a cultural interest. But yeah, and then amusement parks, they're already kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
Especially older ones. They're always like the clowns and like dragons, and everything's like a little bit dank.
I just always feel like I could die. That's my
Absolutely.
thing. I'm like,
There's
who
a
put
sense
this
of
together?
danger.
Who screwed this bolt in? Like,
Yeah.
Excitement and fear are very similar feelings.
it feels like when you get in an elevator in any corporate America office and you look at the thing and it's always like it should be inspected by this date, and it's like usually like
Years
2
after,
years
yeah.
later, and you're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Does anybody see this? Does anybody care?
This is
I have
it.
so
yeah.
many dreams about dying in an elevator. I don't know what that means.
That's how I feel about amusement parks. I'm like,
Yeah.
who is behind this? What happened? So yeah, I don't really go on those rides.
Yeah, so like I think the fact that when you see them in that state is just really amazing. Like there's in LA, there's the old LA Zoo, which was the first LA Zoo.
Yeah.
If you ever gone there, it's just super cool that some of that is still there.
Yeah.
And especially in Los Angeles. But if you're into amusement park stuff, we have an episode about Action Park in New Jersey.
Oh yeah, they did a movie about it.
Yeah, that's
Action
based
Point,
on
right?
Action Point, like one of the most dangerous water parks and amusement parks.
Yeah,
like it's just
they had an upside down water slide that people were dying on and
people.
shit.
We kind of go through. I did like a bunch of research. I interviewed some people, and I've gone there as a kid, but I was too scared to go on those rides. Because
Yeah,
you know
of
me,
course.
I'm terrified.
Yeah.
But I'm here to talk about it, so that's good, I guess. So yeah, those are just kind of some of the things that really
that
interest us. Yeah.
sparked your interest in starting to do all this. And
You gotta
Yeah.
go to like the
researching?
Amity House and shit, man. You gotta
Well,
like,
yeah, of course.
you gotta do all the
Whaler House.
the Whaley, yeah,
Yeah.
the Whaley House.
Whaley.
We're working on all of that.
You
See,
gotta go
I don't-
spend the night in one of these fuckers, man.
That's what we're talking about and kind of developing
I wanna do
outside of
that
the
shit.
podcast.
I like
Dude,
that.
you and my mom, like Steve and
I
my
like
mom,
that.
like just want to see ghosts. Like
Dude,
they're
so-
like, I want to go to haunted places and see ghosts. I'm like, get me the fuck away from a ghost. I don't. If they're out there, I don't want to see one.
During Christmas, we went and stayed on the Queen Mary,
True.
because her family lives
saw
like
that,
right
yeah.
around the corner, and Nikki had a ghostly encounter.
I had
Nikki,
an
take it.
experience. I'm not gonna claim it as a ghostly encounter. I like.
Can we
I,
play some
first
spooky
of all-
music while Nikki tells the story? Thank you.
I've stayed on the Queen Mary before. This isn't my first time, so I wasn't like expecting like hauntedness. I stayed there before, and there was. I didn't
Okay, but you
feel
had a
any-
ghostly encounter.
Okay, so it didn't feel.
Try to keep in the vibe.
Okay.
Please. Okay.
Are we still doing the music?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's here. You can hear it.
It was Christmas Eve, and we were staying on the Queen Mary. Legend has it.
I had a kidney stone.
Okay, well, that's not.
Well, that was part of the story.
It's haunted for you, but that's not scary for me.
It was scary
It
for
was
you
scary
too.
because I had to take care of him.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Steve had a kidney stone, and everything was lit like Christmas, like
It was
very
really
happy, very happy
really pretty.
and delightful. But there was a legend of lots of ghosts that I was not at all scared of because I had stayed there before. Well, we celebrated Christmas Eve at my aunt's house. Then we came back. She lives in Long Beach, and then we drove it's 10 minutes away. Is the Queen Mary?
I was on meds.
and
Her
Steve was
aunts
on
were trying to
meds.
get me to drink
That's
while on
true.
meds.
They're like,
They're all
Percocet and alcohol,
passing me
mix
shots.
it.
I'm like, you guys are out of your mind. I had to do so many pretend shots for her aunt. It was like insane.
Yeah, well, my aunt's going through a separation, and she just needs some fun in her life
Yeah.
right now. But anyway, that's not part of it. So then we go back,
It
and
is part of it.
well, we is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
keep going.
So we pass out right away. Like it's Christmas Eve. I have been drinking, so I'm like, we're going to bed now. Steve takes so long to like get ready for bed that I didn't even get to wash my face off or anything like that. I just fell asleep.
Well, I was checking out the boat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't
I
remember.
told you that.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
telling my
Okay,
story.
sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
as I
take it.
remember it, I fell asleep, and I don't care what the fuck happened when I was
Okay.
asleep,
Yeah.
but I was asleep. And then, so in the night, I don't know, it wasn't a very comfortable bed, so I woke up, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not like wide awake, but I'm like looking over, and through the porthole, which is the only window, there's like some light from the street shining through because it's a portal to the parking lot because the
Where the
boat is just in a dock.
we were in the executive suite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some street light kind of shining through this portal, and I see Steve sitting up, like kind of blocking the light, so it's like a silhouette against the light. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like I'm like, what's wrong? And he doesn't answer me, and I'm like, are you okay? Go back to sleep. And he doesn't answer me. And then I look down at the pillow, and he's sleeping. So then I look back up, and the silhouette is not there. And then I was like, oh, that was fucking weird, but whatever. And so I go back to sleep. And then it happens again where like I just kind of like wake up and I turn over, and because I feel like he's staring at me, and I turn over and I look, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, why are you up? Are you getting up? And he didn't answer. And then I look down and he's asleep. I'm like, what is this?
And
I'm
that
like
time
delirious.
where was the shadow?
It was the same thing.
Same place?
Yeah.
On the bed?
Oh yeah. And then there was one point where I felt like there was a chair in the corner, and I like thought for a second I saw something there, but I don't know. I don't claim that one so much because I don't know if at that point my mind was just playing tricks on me. But at no point did I think that was a ghost.
You're right.
But then the next morning, I went up to brunch with my family, and I was just like talking about how I saw this like, I don't know, this shadow, and I thought that Steve was awake. Twice this happened to me. And my brother's girlfriend, who had been researching all of the like Queen Mary haunting stuff, she's like, well, was it a dark energy? Like, did you feel scared? I was like, no, actually, I didn't feel scared at all. Like, I didn't feel like, ooh, I'm being threatened right now. I just felt like somebody was watching me sleep. And she's like, where's your room? And I told her our room number, and she's like, she looks at her map and she's like, oh my God, you're right above the room where this guy, I guess, supposedly haunts that room. Like, they don't even let people stay in that room, and they took the number off of the room,
which makes it more exciting.
Yeah, totally, way more sexy. But there's this guy ghost, and he's totally harmless, but he just has been known to like sit on people's beds and watch them sleep, and that's like exactly
and they stopped letting people stay in that
the
room.
Silhouette was. But we were right above that room, and I had no idea. So that's like, ooh, that's kind of sexy to talk about, but I still don't feel like when I look back, I'm not like, ooh, I saw a ghost. Like,
I think that's pretty good.
But it didn't feel like, I feel like I'd be scared if I saw a ghost.
No, but you didn't see a Hollywood ghost.
Right.
Like, you didn't see like an apparition that looks glowy.
It was just like a shadow, like a silhouette, and it was blocking the light. That's the only way I could see the silhouette of a person.
So when I was a kid, we came to California to visit my grandma and everybody, and I was staying in my mom's old room, and I'm just laying there, and it's like 2 a.m. I wake up, and there's like a shadow standing over the bed that's blocking the light from the alarm clock, and I didn't feel scared either. It was just like a very weird, like familial feeling, like a
familial,
yeah.
That's, I always just thought if I saw like anything paranormal, like, because watching scary movies gives me a weird fucking feeling, but. Yeah, I don't think it wasn't, whatever, if it was a thing, it wasn't harmful.
Yeah, and so I was looking at it, and it was blocking the light from the alarm clock, and then I closed my eyes, and then I opened my eyes, and it was gone. And no door had been open or anything because the door was already closed. So it was super weird. And again, I was a kid, and I just, I have no idea what that was. Horton, diagnose it. You're the expert.
You're the skeptic expert.
Did we see ghosts?
The skeptic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know. It's interesting because I think your like point of view, like the fact that you were at the like Queen Mary before, like you weren't. I don't know. Like you can maybe argue the fact that like since you've been there before, you're a familiar entity there, so maybe people aren't gonna like fuck with you. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's my first thing I thought. I was like, oh, you've been there before, which I think kind of makes it, and then even your grandma, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of familiar.
Oh, right, right.
I think kind of might make it
like it's more, it's less like, oh, you're a stranger.
You're not an intruder.
Yeah.
Trying to,
that's so interesting.
Shake things up.
And if I was telling Nikki's story, I was hopped up on friggin' painkillers. Like I was doing Percocets and stalking hallways. Yeah. So that wouldn't be, I think, a most reliable source. But that Nikki did that, I don't know. I find that to be interesting.
Well, and I also, like, skeptic wise, I'm just like, if you go into a place that's known to be haunted and then you claim to see a ghost, is that placebo? Like, is that a little bit of like your mind being like, you might see something.
Ghosties?
Ooh, you better be careful. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the only reason I hesitate on being like, oh, I had an experience there. But like, yeah, it really just felt like Steve was sitting up in bed looking at me and just staring at me to the point where like I was trying to talk to him. So I mean, I've never had that.
But
type
it wasn't
of
fear.
experience.
Your thing wasn't fear-based.
No.
So that makes me think that it's not, let's say, legitimate, but you weren't coming there with like, I'm scared, and you're getting yourself all hyped up.
Right.
You know, the fact that you wasn't a fear-based thing, that you were like, oh, it's just a matter-of-fact thing, makes me think that it makes it even more legitimate. I don't know.
True.
On this
That's
side,
true. Yeah, I just always thought if I ever saw one, I'd be scared out of my fucking mind and pee myself. But yeah, it didn't feel like that at all. Anyway, we were going to take a break. And after that, we were going to talk more ghost stories.
We're going to talk about many, many different ghost stories.
Be careful. Don't fast forward too much.
Here comes a real scary ad. So a lot of people ask me, what do I get my mom for holidays? And I'm like, well, I don't buy her flowers, I'll tell you that. Because she doesn't deserve them.
Wow.
Instead, well, she doesn't.
Wow.
Instead, I don't want to give my mom the wrong idea.
Okay.
So instead, I buy her clothing. And my mom is not like a lot of your moms. Like,
So your mom always struggled with shopping and finding clothes because she wants to look cute. And she wants to do something like that's more in fashion. But the clothing that comes in her size was like not fashionable at all.
no, I'll say.
Right?
Yeah, it's like unless you're going to wear buckle shoes with that, you better get ready.
Yeah. Because she's on the curvier side.
Right.
And a lot of those sizes I don't understand what the manufacturers think that women want to wear. It's crazy. Like
Right.
it's like they're wearing a curtain.
Yeah, or it's like they're wearing like one of those blankets that you put at the end of the bed. You know what I mean? It's like what? Who? Like with that same
women do
pattern?
not-
It's like what the hell?
It's like women do not want to wear that. So
It's like you ever had a friend who's got Southern taste and they like hang blankets on the wall, like quilts.
oh
A
yeah,
lot
I've
of
seen that.
quilty
I've seen that.
patterns and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But Torrid has a style that I think is way more like modern.
Yeah. We gave Steve's mom a gift certificate and she loved it because she could find like styles that actually are styles and not oven mitts.
From jeans to intimates to cute dresses and tops, Torrid is focused on designs and styles that are fit to perfection for your body.
Yeah, all of their pieces are wear tested on real curvy women with diverse shapes and sizes. And a real fit can be life changing because you don't have to. I mean, it's kind of a vulnerable thing, to
Yeah.
go in the dressing room. I hate it.
Yeah, well, because one size does not fit all, but
Right.
a lot of places seem to think that it does.
Yes.
I mean, I guess except for shoes, because I swear to God, they get that right every time. But bodies are different than feet, I find.
Yes, feet are part of your bodies, but your bodies are not part of your feet.
It's
So-
pretty cool that Torrid wear tests their clothing.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
On actual people.
It's like they got a lab full of people.
not on mannequins.
And they're like, hey, go put this on. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, that's hella durable, I guess.
So there's inclusive sizing for curvy women. It's not a trend at Torrid. It's who they are and what they've been doing for years. Okay. And right now, just for our listeners, you can go to torrid.com and use promo code U15. That's YOU15 for $15 off every $50 you spend. That means you can get up to $150 off a $500 order.
Torrid.com, promo code YOU15. That's U15 for $15 off every $50 you spend.
Torrid.com, promo code YOU15.
Experience Torrid for yourself and find out what makes Torrid first at Fit.
All right, and we're back. So, Horton, besides Chernobyl, what's your top 5 places that you want to visit?
Some of them are, unfortunately, they last a long time and eventually things happen and they're gone. Like Nara Dreamland in Japan, which...
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're
That's
just
a
on
haunted
clouds and
place?
stuff.
That sounds nice.
It's a abandoned amusement park.
So is
Oh.
Wonderland. Wonderland sounds nice too, but that's
That
a
sounds kinda
street,
creepy,
right?
though.
It's a street.
Yeah, Wonderland is in Laurel
murders.
Canyon. There's murders there. I have
Yeah.
a picture on my Instagram, D. Jason Horton. Check it out. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
That's
Damn.
a plug,
Good plug.
baby.
And yeah, you're referencing the scene in Boogie Nights at the end, right? Where the
They're
what's his
freaking
name?
out, and
yeah,
they're
they're
in the-
freaking out, and they're in the that really cool house with the guy in the robe and he's got the gun and then he's randomly firing it.
It's based on that, yeah. So the Wonderland murders, and I made the mistake of watching the crime footage right before I went to sleep, and it is gruesome.
Yikes!
Is it like black and white shit or is it color?
No, it's color. I mean, it's a little bit grainy, but I mean, you're just looking at dead bodies propped up. It's also called the 4 on the floor murders. So if you want a 4 on the floor,
what's 4 on the floor?
There's 4 dead bodies on the floor.
Man.
Yeah, one propped up against a television set. It's pretty nasty. And plus, it's anything I feel like in the 80s, like 70s and 80s, is very gritty.
Yeah.
There's in New York City there was blackouts and economic depression, especially going into early 80s. So I feel like that always adds an element when it comes to crime. Just a very like dark, depressing, desperate time. But when the Wonderland murders, people were yelling, "Don't kill me!" But the neighbors are kind of like, these
guys are fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, because it's like rich people doing drugs, like another, people making a lot of noise, and then you have the idea of like, how do I react to that? Oh, somebody else will kind of take care of that kind of phenomenon. I forget the name of the phenomenon, but there was a murder. I think her name is Kitty Genovese in New York City. She was getting like mugged and stabbed, and a ton of people heard it, but nobody did anything about it because everyone thought somebody else will do something about it.
Right.
Jesus.
So it's that phenomenon where somebody else will do something about it, and people are afraid to get involved. So I think there's an element of that. But yeah, like the name Wonderland actually makes it sexier.
It does.
Laurel Canyon,
Yeah.
Hollywood. So that I would say, but Nara Dreamland is a Japanese amusement park that it's all kind of like I feel like Disney is attached to a lot of these things. Like they were going to work with Disney, and Disney was like, no. But it's just and it's in Japan. It's
What's the story of it?
It's an amusement park that kind of started in the 60s, did really, really well. But I think then Tokyo Disney opened, and it's just not sustainable. The rides become outdated, and everything needs to be updated and up to code. And it's like, what's the point after a while to do that?
Were there a bunch of carnies there who like they're ready to go, and then they find out it's like Tokyo Disney just opened, and they're all just like, "Oh my god,
we out of here!" Yeah,
yeah, right.
I think it lasted a little bit after Tokyo Disney was there, but yeah, like for whatever reason, business wise, it's just not worth keeping. But the fact that it stays up for a long time is amazing. That people, urban exploration, you go there and like check it out, and so that's kind of one of the other places that's unfortunately gone. That I would really like.
We always
to see.
forget that there were mom and pop amusement parks.
There's so in LA had one amusement park that was where the Beverly Center is, and in the 40s, and what ended up happening is they started marketing it to divorced people, which was I thought really interesting because in like the 70s and people talking about divorce in the 50s, no, it doesn't really happen, but like towards the 70s, it's like, come on, divorced dads,
right?
This is a great place to like be the intermediary to like meet your kids. So in LA alone is amazing. I mean, we did an episode on the Los Feliz murder house. When you think of Los Feliz, if you're not in LA, but you're in LA, like, oh, Los Feliz is cool, it's hip. You know what I mean? There was a house in Los Feliz where a murder. It's they know who the dad freaked out and killed his wife and tried to kill his daughter.
Wait, isn't that the Griffith Park guy? Do you know about that story?
Maybe
the guy that donated Griffith Park.
Yes, because he.
Okay,
yeah.
He killed his wife and then killed himself.
There's a very horrible story.
Yeah.
But I think we talk about it when we talk about the LA Zoo a little bit because Griffith Park, is kind of like an interesting, very interesting lineage with that. But the Los Feliz murder house, you could look inside. I was always too scared to do it, but for a while you can look inside and it was like. You saw like Christmas tree up and like stuff from like the 50s and 60s. Like for some reason, somebody was paying for it, but nobody was cleaning it out.
That's creepy too.
Now it's cleaned out.
Is
yeah,
creepy. Have you ever looked at the Instagram? It's Abandoned.
Probably.
I feel like you guys would like that.
Yeah,
that
Abandoned is more kind of like Rebecca. I mean, we're both into the same thing. But Rebecca's very into like
the ghost
spirit
haunted
stuff.
She does. LA is very haunted. Like the Roosevelt Hotel. Like any of these hotels.
Where's that one where that Cecile, the Hotel Cecile?
Hotel Cecil.
Cecil, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
That's a haunted one?
Oh yeah. This girl just like ended up in like the water tower.
Elisa Lam.
Yeah. And like it turned all the water black.
Yeah. but nobody knows. You see video footage of her kind of like looking out the elevator.
And
Either
she
somebody's
looks
Oh, I've seen
weird.
some of that shit.
And like she does this weird dance, not dance, but like she's like wobbling, and then she like disappears, and then she's found naked in the water tower, like
how she got
in there.
Because there was like no opening or some shit, right?
Well, there was an opening, but it's like really heavy, and she's like a tiny girl, and then the lid got put back on.
Right.
So like if she had jumped in there herself, like how would she put the lid back
She
on?
probably phase shifted through the wall.
And the Cecil has a lot of suicides. It's a place that people went to be like, I don't want to be found. Like I'm, want to go and do drugs, or I want to get a prostitute. I believe it was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, stayed there. The Hotel Cecil Cecil Hotel has like a lot of history of like messed up
Do they
stuff.
lean into that? Like,
No.
Hey,
I think
fucked up shit happened here.
No,
Come
I
stay
think
the night.
I think they're probably the opposite. So they're trying to like kind of renovate it and stuff like that.
Because Queen Mary very much embraces all that
Sure,
shit.
yeah.
They're like, come on a ghosty tour. And
Right.
like, obviously during Halloween, they get college kids and they try to scare the shit
That's
out
true.
of tourists and stuff.
Dude, my mom would take me to. It was her idea to stay on the Queen Mary because she just really wants to see ghosts. But when I was a kid, I used to get so freaked out because she like legit would go to these places if she even heard there was a slight haunting there. And we went to the one in San Diego, the Coronado.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Hotel Del.
Yeah, Hotel Del. We had to go there, and she was like, "It's this hallway," and I'm like, "Why are we here? I hate this." I
Your
literally
mom is
hate
obsessed
this.
though. Her mom watches those Travel America shows called like When Ghosts Attack and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like every story is just like the coolest part of the ghost story, where it's like the ghost fucking held me down.
Well,
and
and
like,
she's
clawed
obsessed
me.
with Stephen King. Like she loves The Shining, all of that shit. Like haunted hotels, especially.
The hotel,
is her
the Stanley
thing.
Hotel we did an episode on that.
Really?
That's where Stephen King got the idea. For
Yeah.
The Shining was rooms. The rooms are different from each thing. Like three.
The Red Room.
Yeah, there's like three. I forget the name of the. There's so many. Every hotel is haunted.
Yeah.
And
for
trying
sure.
to keep up with the names of which room is.
Basically,
the
if
haunted room.
someone committed suicide in a hotel, it's haunted now.
Yeah.
But that's every hotel in Vegas, especially, man.
Right.
That's one thing that nobody really talks about is all the suicides in Vegas hotels, because people go there, they lose their ass, and they just fucking blow their brains out, and then they usually get the room pretty cleaned up, and they run it out like in less than a day or two.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
was
People
crazy.
OD and.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of drugs.
They're like doing cigarettes. They're doing
doing
ibuprofen.
cigarettes.
They're
Yeah,
doing
no
Red
doubt.
Bull.
Oh
Not
my
diet,
God.
regular,
Yeah, no,
straight
regular,
up Red Bull.
yeah.
So they're
They're doing
speedball.
Pepsi and Mentos.
I don't know
Yeah.
if we could talk about all these on
Yeah, they're
here.
speedballing cigarettes and
Jesus.
ibuprofen. It's like crazy.
My God.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Dude, I went to Vietnam and the energy was like pretty
yeah.
nuts there.
Oh yeah, you had an interesting encounter there as well.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call it an encounter. See, I don't believe
call it
I've
an
had
encounter.
But no, like it definitely right off the plane, it's weird because it looks like Bali. Like if you've ever been to Bali, it's like
And we all have.
And you all have.
Everyone who's
obviously.
listening has been on
Everyone's
it.
been to
Come
Bali.
on.
Yeah.
Well, it's that Southeast Asia, like that vibe, that tropical, humid, but beautiful, like beaches, like that type of vibe.
Smell the air, it's really nice
and like
relaxing.
specifically, like the culture in Vietnam, I felt like reminded me of Bali, where it's like dirt roads or even the paved roads, like everyone's on scooters. Like it's not like there's no stoplights and stuff. There's not a lot of like
No smart cars.
it's not a lot. Yeah, it's not really like how our roads are and stuff. But anyway, it's weird because it looked just like Bali, but when you step off the plane, I felt this like way heavier energy. And I had talked to some of my Vietnamese friends about Vietnam before, and they're like, yeah, basically you're not allowed, no one really wants to talk about it, but everyone believes it's haunted.
Yeah.
Like, and it probably because like a lot of shit went down there too, with
Yeah.
the
Like
war
what? What
and
happened in
stuff.
Vietnam?
Well, some stuff happened.
Oh.
It's all bullshit.
Is it like? Is
Well,
it
they
like?
ate bad food one day.
Is it pad thai related? I don't understand.
Food
Like, what's
poisoning
happening?
happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe the Vietnam War happened.
Yeah.
But you know
That's my
what's
new thing.
interesting too is there's a river, and you know how I was telling you earlier that some cultures believe that water carries spirits. So there's a river that goes throughout the entire Vietnam, and that's like they used to dispose of the bodies during war down that river. Jesus. And so like when you think about it, like the energies that could be carried, I don't know if any like the science or if there is any science behind it, but it definitely felt heavy, whereas in Bali it did not feel heavy at all. In fact, I've never been in a tropical place that felt so heavy as Vietnam. But yeah, so we get there and I go to the hotel room and it's night already, and we're in it was there. I was there for business, so the company that I was with paid for all the hotel and stuff. But they put us in like these private villas, which is cool. But also, you're alone. Like, there's no shared walls. You're like very alone in your little villa. And the first night, I was so tired. I'd traveled for 30 hours because that plane ride is crazy, and then I had to drive another 5 hours once we were off the plane. So I was really, really tired. I went to bed, and I got sleep paralysis. I don't know if you've ever had sleep paralysis. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's where you like wake up basically like you see the room that you're in, but you can't move your body. Like you can't scream, you can't like move your body. For me, like my eyes can't open all the way, but I just can see the room. And it's really, really scary. And there's some different theories to why that happens. Like some of them are like there's some science to it, and then other cultures believe like the literal Spanish translation to sleep paralysis is a ghost sitting on your chest.
Right.
So there's that, and then some people when they get it, they see like shadow men, or like sometimes I get when I've gotten it a few times and like there's an animal like breathing next to me. I can only see the animal in my peripheral, but it's like that. So this time there was like a dog like breathing, and I could feel its snout, but not like I couldn't turn my head to see the dog. And you're just trying to get out of this state. You're just trying to be able to move your body again. And I'm screaming and I'm trying to like, but nothing's coming out. And then finally like I snap back into my body and I'm like, oh my God, that's so scary. Like it makes you not want to go back to sleep because you don't want it to happen again.
So
but I was so tired and I had to work with this company the next day, so I'm like, I gotta go back to sleep. I start going back to sleep and the socket next to me explodes, like just sparks up, and all of the electricity goes out in my villa. So it's just dead silent. Like the AC is dead, everything is completely dead.
Alone in there. I wasn't there.
And all the lights shut up. I always leave a light, like a little light on in the bathroom, just so
you were at the strip club, right, Steve, at that time?
Yeah, I was at the strip club. Yeah, okay, cool. At the experiment.
Yeah.
And then like it's like 4 a.m, so I'm like, I don't know how to even get a hold of anybody to get this electricity back up. So I guess I'll just wait it out till the morning, and then the electricity comes back on. I'm like, okay, thank God. So then I started going back to sleep, and the fucking TV comes on, and it goes like, shh, and it's just that like snow, and I'm like, I'm not fucking looking at that. Like whatever it is, I'm just gonna like make myself go back to sleep. I like find my headphones and put them on and just go to sleep. I wake up, the TV's still like shh in the morning, which is weird because even if the electricity comes back on and you turn the TV on, it shows the hotel menu. It doesn't have white noise. Like that's really odd that it would just have white noise going on. So I turn it off and I never again saw this white noise. Anytime I turned on the TV, it was never again white noise. So why did that happen? I don't know. Anyway, the next, like we spend about 4 days there, and other people are having like weird experiences because I was kind of telling like one of the other girls about it, and she didn't have anything like that, but someone overheard me and they're like, we had an experience. We were like chilling in the pool at night. Like each room had their own little like pool, and the villa next to us like kept opening the curtains, and we're like, oh shit, we need to like quiet down. And every time they started getting louder again, the curtain would open and there'd be a figure there, and they would close it. And they're like, oh shit, we're like bothering this person, like we should probably quiet the party down. This guy comes in and he's like, hey, can I party with you guys? I don't want to go to bed yet. They're like, yeah, sure, but we're trying to keep it down because the person next door keeps like pulling the curtain. And he's like, wait, that villa right there? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, that's my villa. And they're like, well, have you been like looking at us through the curtain? And he's like, no, I haven't been there all night. And they're like, well, who's your roommate? Because sometimes some of them had roommates. And he's like, I'm just alone in there. And they swear to God that there was a person like looking at them. That's their story.
I just love a guy going, that's my villa.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to say that. I've never had the opportunity.
Yeah.
So then at the dinner, like there was a dinner at the end, and we're all telling our stories of like some just random shit that happened. Other people had way weirder shit happen to them. And one of the girls was like, let's ask one of the employees and see if it's haunted. And they're looking up like how to say that in Vietnamese. They're kind of like Googling it because a lot of the chefs and stuff, they only speak Vietnamese. And she's like, hey, has there ever been ghosts here? And he's like, I don't know what you're saying. And she shows them like a Google translation, and he's like, oh yeah, yeah. And he's like laughing because he's like, yeah. And the other employees are kind of like, we're not supposed to talk about it, you know. And she's like, what rooms are haunted? And he's like, this room. He lists off a bunch of numbers, and my room is on the list. And they're like, oh my God, it's true, it was haunted.
Did that affect the rest of your trip? Like, were you like?
That was the last night, like where we got the confirmation from the employee. That night was probably the scariest. I was just like, please don't hurt me.
Did anything happen that night? Did you get sleep paralysis again?
I did actually. I got sleep paralysis again that night, but.
And by the way, at home she doesn't get no
I
sleep
don't get it
paralysis,
at home.
man.
Yeah,
I get it. She doesn't get it.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know that, and that was.
For you to get it in a row like that is crazy.
When I used to get it was only like once every couple months. Like it wasn't anything like in a couple days worth of time. I also had a really vivid dream about my grandmother who had passed, and she was like telling me how she's so much happier now and all this stuff. And that was weird because we hugged in the dream, and I just woke up bawling, crying because it felt like I had seen her again. Like it just felt like she was there. It was a really weird experience in Vietnam. I was happy to go
you're
home.
taking yourself. I think when you're taking yourself out of a comfort zone. You know,
Yeah.
Despite the villa,
Right.
you know what I mean. Despite the private
It is a
villa,
villa.
Yeah.
But even you're taking yourself out of your familiar situation. You're not around. You really can't like, hey, Steve, check this out. Or you can't call somebody as easy as you'd like to. So you're really kind of your senses are kind of like. Everything's at a disadvantage in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your security's at a disadvantage. So I think you're probably as maybe prone to feel that or see that. Yeah.
Because especially after traveling that long, 30 hours
loopy,
of traveling, like you're just like, you're tired. I'm too tired to have my guards up and be like, what was that?
Defenses are down,
you know? Yeah. So it was interesting. And then my friend V, she's from Vietnam, and she was talking about how she doesn't want to believe in ghosts, but all of her friends and family have all had ghost experiences where they actually see ghosts or hear ghosts, or there's like they have specific ghosts that are in their houses that are like, oh yeah, that's just the ghost. Like they're just kind of nonchalant about it because it's so common, which is fascinating to me because if you were to say that here, it's not like people are like, yeah, right, you saw a ghost, but in Vietnam, it's like, oh yeah, that.
Well, think about the trauma that happened over there, man. Like in just the past couple of years. That's why it's always interesting to me to think about like everything that happened like during like in the Greek era and with the Romans and like all that shit. And the idea that there's not just like hotels and like fucking fields filled with ghosties out there, makes me think if there's any legitimacy to all this stuff, there's almost like a half-life to what a spirit. Or whatever, how long they last.
I can buy that because
I think that's kind of a sick idea.
That's true, and also if you buy that their energies fade,
right.
You know, and like there's different theories about how time and space work. Also, where like people are like time is a spiral. I've read a lot of theories and books about how time is a spiral, and if you delve into that theory and you think about energies traveling in a spiral rather than through linear time, it would make sense that they would overlap and someone from the past or their energy would be overlapping with our reality, you know?
That's so sick.
So
dude.
interesting.
Fucking love all that
Well, I think,
shit.
because why I referenced Los Angeles because I'm here, but LA is relatively a new city compared to, especially when you've been to, Europe and Asia. I mean, it's a baby, you know? So with the hauntings here are probably like really fresh, you know what I mean? Like even if it was 100 years ago, pretty fresh in comparison to, like being in like Prague or Vietnam or wherever. And that's why I like love. I think you should, wherever you live, there's probably something really cool and you should embrace that in your city. I don't know. You don't have to look that far, but I think living in Los Angeles or California in general it's a really cool place to be.
Yeah, I think so
too. Yeah, and
too.
if you're in Vietnam, you should really embrace the wars that happened in your area.
Yeah. But get a private
That's what
villa.
Horton's trying to say.
You got to get a private villa. You got to go private.
You gotta get a private villa.
You gotta get a cabana.
You gotta get an all-inclusive private
That's my
villa.
next movie, The Haunting at the Cabana.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because there'd been like a lot of hotels along the beach. There'd been a lot of drownings there too. Like if you looked up, because some of us when we were talking about the experiences, we were like looking up, hauntings or whatever. And a lot of it wasn't about the Vietnam War or even really ghosts, but it was about all the deaths that occurred along the beach from drownings. Like there's just a lot of drownings.
What do you know what their like the religion is there? Like the prevalent religion?
Buddhist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything what their take is on like the afterlife or
Well,
life
I'm not going to speak for all Buddhists, and
I will. Go
excuse
ahead.
me in the comment. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they believe in reincarnation and that you return to the source after you pass. But I don't know if there's room in religions where there's like that purgatory era where you're like your unfinished business, ghost stuff. I'm not sure where the line is there. Because with Christianity, it's like you go to heaven or you go to hell, but there's like unfinished business if you didn't go to either one, you're in purgatory.
Right.
I don't know if there's that in Buddhism at all.
Buddhism has the coolest tenets, man.
Yeah.
I think it's by far
it's like
the
chill or be
coolest,
chill.
chillest.
It's one of them.
Exactly. But what else is there? You know what I mean? Like it's just so chill. And they're like, yeah, when you die, you just get on a couch and you just go and chill. Like it's just so cool, man.
Yeah.
I just think they got it figured out in a cool way. And I don't find a lot of their religious garments to be like the Catholic Church is like very like, oh Jesus, like stiff. But a lot of their stuff is like cool looking,
comfy,
like beautiful robes and just sick looking stuff.
Well, I feel like Buddhism, they didn't go the route of having a lot of new rules that came out. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it, I was reading about the teachings of Buddha, and he would like hold a flower. And like that was the lesson for the day, was to like get the point of
That's
and
sick.
it was about like being present, and basically being present is God. Like that's the moment, and the now is.
I also think he's probably a little bit trolling.
Yeah. Well,
He's
his
like,
story's
Hey,
fascinating.
you guys are paying for this shit, huh? Yeah. So the lesson today is, this flower right here. Yeah, that's
buy my merch. Buy merch.
Buy the merch. Don't forget the sandals on the way out. Yeah.
Dude, have you read about his like how the Buddha came to be and stuff?
You know the Siddhartha story?
No, I don't know. That's
I remember
different.
reading that.
That's different.
I don't know. I'm just
Or
putting
maybe
pieces together
is it-
of references
It might have been
on
the
my,
same.
on my
I've never
reference
read
tree.
that book, but I was just reading a book where they talked about the Buddha and like, but they didn't reveal it till the end, so I'm kind of spoiling it for
Sick.
you.
Yeah.
But basically, there was a guy who was born a prince, so he was like in royalty, and he just knew only the life within the castle. And then he decided to like check out what happens in the city, like with the regular village folk. And so he snuck out one day, kind of like Jasmine did with the
Oh,
Aladdin,
absolutely like Jasmine. That's exactly
yeah, just
like
exactly
Jasmine.
like Jasmine, and in Aladdin, and he was just appalled by just the poverty and how people were living, and they were like sleeping in the streets, and
He was telling him, "Hey, get up out of the street. You're sleeping in the street. Do you know that?"
That's not how the story went, Steve.
Oh, sorry.
So he goes, oh shit, like I know nothing about life, and like and he shunned his riches, and he was like, I need more meaning to my life, and so that must be outside of royalty. It must be through suffering and through being with the people. So he went and lived in the street for a while, like with the regular people, and he didn't get spiritually enlightened there either. He's like, oh, this just fucking sucks. There's
Yeah.
either suffering in the street or there's suffering in a castle.
At least you got a
but
feather bed in the
this
castle.
fucking sucks. And so then he went and like started like learning about like where do you get free, and then he started Buddhism and stuff. And it was fascinating.
That's sick.
It's a fascinating story.
That's really sick.
But it was like through like shedding ego.
That's like Buddhism, the prequels.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm probably botching the story too.
I'm sure,
'cause
but-
I'm not really good
No,
at
I think that people should write a
story.
thesis.
But yeah.
Their thesis based
There's
on your
that.
Yeah,
information.
you
I
know,
think
there's
so.
a Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Nikki is a Buddhist expert, so
Nikki
you
Cliff
send in your
Notes.
questions about Buddhism. And
I might have gotten distracted while I was reading the story. But that's the gist of it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I wonder what the like if ghost stuff is real. I wonder, and I'm not even saying that I think that it is per se. I just wonder what the if we'll ever find out. Like if it'll ever be like, oh, there's a scientific discovery where it's like, yeah, we're finding out that all this shit was really this the whole time.
Right.
Like an explanation for what the phenomena is.
I think that would take away from the belief and excitement.
The
of
mystery.
it. You know, when you hear like
mysterious.
when somebody breaks it down scientifically,
Yeah.
it takes. It's just like And like true crime is very, very popular. We all know from various ways, various, ID channel or Netflix documentaries or In Cold Blood or whatever. But when they're unsolved, that like
So sexy.
it's just because everyone wants to get together and discuss their
Yeah.
theories on it. When it's a solved one, like that Wonderland one we were talking about, it's technically unsolved, and I think that makes it where you never stop. It's always kept alive because there's no like period at the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
So I think if science did kind of figure that out, it'd be kind of like, well, I don't know.
It's like the Natalie Wood shit, like with
Yeah.
Robert Wagner and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, dang, that's
Yeah.
There's just so much to it, but that it's unsolved is like part of what the mystique is. And
Yeah.
Is the Winchester house solved? She just went crazy and started.
I think it's just an interesting. I mean, the fact that whatever she heard or saw, and they just keep building. They just kept
Yeah.
building on it. I think that's just super cool.
that one
it's
always
like DB Cooper.
that one always
Oh,
gave me
yeah.
the like weird.
We
vibes.
always talk about DB Cooper. Always when we're talking for some reason, we start talking about DB Cooper.
It's creepy to me.
I don't know what
Yeah.
that is. Can
DB
you?
Cooper is the cat who he robbed a plane on the
Yeah.
tarmac, and then he made him take it up in the air. And he got $200,000. He got
Jumped.
him to land it,
Yeah.
and then they brought $200,000 in cash on board or something like that. And then they took the plane up again, and then they gave him a parachute, and he jumped out.
Whoa.
And then they never found him. They never recovered the money either. Like they recovered some of the money,
yeah.
like very small amounts here and there.
And speculation. Some people say that sightings of him, or there's no way he could have survived it.
Right,
That's
but
really
then they never
sexy.
found.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sexy as fuck, right?
Yeah.
And then they also say that they also keep finding bills random places.
Yeah.
Like just randomly they found another bill
Oh,
like
so
that's
he could
covered
still
in
be
mold somewhere.
alive. Oh,
Dude,
no,
hell yeah.
they found it.
No, they find bills
Oh, I thought like it was being spent.
from the era and that are on the serial number matches.
No, I know, but like they found it in the mud or they found it being spent.
Oh, that'd be
there's
sick.
two different.
Yeah.
Because
That
if
would
it
be
was
really
being
sick.
spent, that's like, ooh, he's out there.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
tight.
Well, I was gonna explain the Winchester house because I feel like bad dropping names as if everybody knows what everything is.
No, I just
So,
say
like-
DB. I should have said DB.
Well, I was
Everybody knows what that is.
Drew Barrymore Cooper.
So the
This is his full
Winchester
name.
house always creeped me out because it's this lady whose husband died and then she just kept hearing voices in her head telling her to build and build and build, and there's like staircases that go to nowhere
Right.
and like doorways that lead nowhere, and like she just random rooms, and it's weird.
She was just compelled to just always keep
Yeah.
building. Yeah.
It was like she was cursed. She could never relax. She always had to keep building.
I think it's because the Winchester rifles and maybe the people that died because of the Winchester
That's, like,
rifles.
one theory.
Yeah, it's like one of the theories.
Damn, dude, if she had mobile games, I don't think she would have built anything.
No, I know
If
she
there were
didn't.
mobile games back then, I
She
don't-
had an AOL account, I think, too. Still, so
Oh,
she was
really?
like really outdated. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah,
too
so
bad.
she was in the past.
I always think of that, man. Like, think of all the civilization stuff that we've all built up over time, and what if there was those mass distractions like back then that were just as fun? Like, imagine having Bejeweled Blitz in like
There
the
are
early
ma-
1800s.
They were mass distractions. They were just public hangings and executions and like torture.
and opium.
Well, and prostitution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just thinking more of like
Right.
something that is like that's like addicting, and you hold it and you just sit there.
Yeah, they had yo-yos.
Oh, that's true. Yo-yos was,
That was the
probably
shit.
The
Yeah.
shit back then. It was like having a Nintendo 64 in your house.
Yeah, they didn't light up
Your
yet.
dad's
though.
like taking the yo-yo
Yeah,
away,
yeah, yeah.
and you're like, no, don't take
And
the yo-yo.
that one game where you have to catch the ball in the cone.
Oh yeah.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where they
Some
used
sick
to
games.
they had a wood wheel and they'd kick it down the street with
Yeah.
a freaking stick.
Stick, yeah.
Oh my God.
Old wood wheel. I used to play it all the time.
Just roasting
Brutal.
kids from that century.
Oh,
Just
it's like,
roasting their
sorry.
toys.
Dude, the ghosts of then must be like, oh man, I can't. I wish I could play some of this.
They're like,
sick
I don't want
shit."
to come back down to earth to play that stupid game. That
No.
sucks.
Like, I want to play Killer Instinct Gold.
All right. Well, that was a very intriguing topic. Thank you so much for being on
Thanks
our
for
show
having me,
today,
yeah.
Jason. Where can they find you, these lovely people?
We can listen to Ghost Town on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox.
Oh, nice.
Castbox. We
Nice.
love
We do.
Castbox.
We have a Instagram, which is Ghost Town Pod. We are going to start doing live shows and a little tour, which we're working on, which we're very excited about. First one might be at Dynasty Typewriter, but we don't know.
What
We
is
think
that?
It's downtown,
Okay.
right next to MacArthur Park. When MacArthur Park is a location of like really messed up stuff, so that's
Ghouls?
why kind of
Well,
we want to.
still, people are getting murdered there. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
so
sure.
and then if you, I have some pictures on my personal Instagram, which is the Jason Horton.
Can I make a request?
Yeah.
Can you guys check out vampire culture? Because I find it very interesting.
We're getting into for next thing is cults. So we're gonna do like a cult month. So then we'll get into some vamp stuff. Some
the
sexy
vampy
stuff.
shit is so interesting because there are real people out there who are like, I am a vampire.
Yeah.
Well, how about the witch burnings? Where they just basically burned any female that like used herbs and had a cat.
Wait, you read a sentence? Burned.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. Like I'm pretty sure I'd get burned. I have
But
like
at least they
crystals
probably got
and
some
cats.
witches in there too.
Yeah,
you think
probably.
about it, yeah.
Well, we haven't seen a witch
They
since.
killed 'em. They
so
killed all the
they
witches back
probably
then.
burned them all.
Yep.
Yeah, that's tight. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, and feel free to email us if you would like us to talk about a particular topic. This one was off the cuff, off our normal kind of topics where we usually talk about something that can help you in life. But
think
this
this will help
shit
them.
is like just interesting as hell to talk
Listen,
about.
what I mean,
And I feel like no one talks about
when you're
it.
sitting in your room and you have soul crushing boredom, what is better than ghosty stuff?
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Just freaking yourself out at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than the unknown.
For sure.
That's like, dude, we used to think, remember when it was like, oh shit, UFOs and stuff? And then they came out and said, hey, the F-117 stealth bomber, that was us. Like, that's what that was. And then everyone's like, oh man, the sexiness is gone.
Yeah, true.
And a lot of those ghosts, a lot of those UFO sightings. Not that that's the only UFO
So we're just trying to
sighting.
add some more sexy to your day. Hope that's
yeah, dude.
okay.
The mystery.
If
when
you
you
like
look into
it-
the darkness, is the darkness looking back at you.
Please rate us 5 stars.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Why didn't anyone tell me?